Limited overs teams generally play to certain patterns, a DNA of sorts. Some attack at the top, others save it all for the end. There are bowling dominant teams who go very hard with the ball, and others who try and dry the team up, win by, 1,000 dots. Some of these theories are coach-led, or some from years of a nation playing a certain way, and others are by cricketers you just happen to have available. A few years ago, it was clear that India and England saw certain types of cricketers come through. England had a host of guys who could just, whack it, and a bunch of various kinds of all-round talent. India had batsmen who could regularly score hundreds, or even doubles, and specialist bowlers with great white ball skills. They backed these skills and began playing in ways that accentuated what they did well. But of course, not every team can play that way. They say Kane Williamson can walk out on a pitch, face a couple of balls and come up with a par total in his own mind. He can see runouts, how the old ball will fare, and he tastes dew in the air before it even arrives. He is a par score whisperer. Of course, I have no idea how much of that is true. But he did score enough to beat India in a World Cup semi-final and was only one run off in the final. And perhaps he didn't know that the umpires would make a mistake on that Stokes deflection. Other non-Williamson mortals often say things about one-day cricket that aren't true, like 300 is a par score. Let anyone suggesting that actually look up a few scorecards. There is only one team that has ever scored more than a run a ball in ODI cricket. In the last 5 years of one-day internationals, the average runs per over is 5.33. That means teams score on average 266.5 runs per match, and that's without mentioning the many times teams are bowled out first. But there is that one team who scores at over 6 runs and over, and hey, they won a World Cup. And a lot of games around that World Cup as well. And no team has ever been as aggressive with the bat as they are. You get a good idea here just how far removed they are from the other teams. We're talking about more than half a run and over better than, the second best. But it's also worth noting that the second fastest scoring team, which actually loses fewer wickets, is India. These are the best two ODI teams by, some distance. One is the 300 run par team and the other one the closest to that mark. It starts at the beginning for England. They go pretty fast from the power play. Most teams don't, and there's a reason for that. Perhaps it has something to do with the two new balls, but I think it's probably more to do with the fact that teams just realised if you hung on long enough with wickets in hand, you could turn the game into a T20 and hit out big. You didn't really need to go hard, and if you did go too hard at the top, you wouldn't be able to do that later on. Forget the days of Sanas Jayasuriya and Ramesh Kalulwitharana slapping the ball around like it dated their sister. No team in world cricket scores it over a runner ball in the power play. But England has at least been close. India, not even a little bit. They are scoring at 0.85 runs and over slower than England. And that's on purpose. They're not hiring tortoises or anything. They want their batters to keep their wickets in hand. The mad thing about all this is that England managed to score this much quicker than everyone else while actually still not losing that many wickets. They actually averaged the same as India, but with this extra pace. I would say there is no way this could last, except for this is the last 5 years. India, on the other hand, they are going nowhere at the start. They're slow by design. In the middle overs, India use all those wickets they have kept in hand to score quicker. But England are still first. India are more dependent on going big. Recently, CricViz told me that major ODI teams have a batter score 100 every 3 games. India do it in half their games. And here it is, as clear as I can make it. This is why these two teams don't lose many games. They completely boss the middle overs. England managed to score as close to a runner ball as is possible while averaging 50. That's largely down to Root and Morgan's just incredible skill. While India averages 60, and that's with top order players going big after cruisy starts. At this point, what is clear is just how few wickets India lose. You may want to screenshot this or head over to my Insta page to grab it later. And then we get to the death. And India ramp up a little, and England continue to just be faster than everyone else. But what is noticeable here is that India are really stuck in the second division pack. Even though they have all those wickets in hand, they don't kick on. And here is why. Sure, it helps that England bat all the way down to number 11 at times, where Adil Rashid's 10 first-class hundreds huddle up at number 11 on occasion. But it's because their guns smash the hell out of the ball. You can even see Moeen Ali poking his nose out of the normies down here. India aren't getting the same firepower out of their batters because they still have half a mind on the fact they'll be batting with the tail. Though I was pretty shocked to find Hardik Pandya in here. But perhaps the most interesting Indian on this list is this bloke. Remember him? But this is how much better England and India are than everyone else. Per over, this is how many runs they score for every one they concede. They're even better than the West Indies and Sri Lanka are bad. This is very clear. But how India and England differ from each other, that's about their method. They're both good, they're just both different kinds of good. So these are the best two batting teams, and kind of by a distance. This is them against all the 2019 World Cup teams when using the ball. Suddenly our beautiful leaders are just also rats. It's Australia and South Africa up here at the front. Now sure, it could be worse. They could be Canada. In most white ball teams, there is a decision that a team has to make in order to make the maths work. Do you bat deeper, but have a rough fifth bowling option? Or bowl deeper, but have a thinner batting order? It's rare to find a batsman who is an automatic 10 over bowler or a bowler who can be trusted upon regularly at number 7. At the start of 2019, England had 4 of the top 13 ranked all-rounders. And even allowing for the ICC's rankings, which are, let's be honest, a bit of a dumpster fire at times, that's an incredible effort. Root and Liam Plunkett are not even on this list, and they both offer all-round skill as well. It's clear that after the 2015 open wound World Cup for England, they decided to back their all-round talent. In some cases, it was luck. Their best wrist spinner and finger spinner both come with batting. But in the cases of David Willey, Chris Jordan, a couple of Currans, Chris Wokes and Liam Plunkett, there were probably better or at the very least similar level bowlers available. But their batting was important. Add in Stokes and, Joe Root's off spin, and there is suddenly a surprising amount of bowling there. Jofra Archer is probably the first specialist bowler chosen wholly for that skill, and that's only because he was, ridiculously good. India have had to do something completely different. They've stocked their team with specialist batters and bowlers, and hope that Hardik, Jadeja, or even Yadav can sort them out while giving them a bit of extra depth. It never quite worked, but the amount of runs that their top order made allowed them to continue with it. And in the future, they might be happy to get 10 overs out of Hardik batting at number 6 and Sundar batting at number 7 with Jadeja at 8, and perhaps some slogging from Shardul Thakur at 9. But with Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Shami, and probably any frontline wrist spinner mostly not being able to bat, they'll continually to have this long tail. So this is the players with 35 wickets against the 2019 World Cup team in the last 5 years. We'll get to the good bowlers in a minute, but look at the 4 most all-roundiest options from these two teams. Not one of them is averaging majorly under 40 in that time. Jadeja is the only one with a good economy rate, and Stokes has struggled to take wickets and contain runs. Now these numbers were before the current series, where Stokes has been better. He took 3 wickets against India in the first ODI, but he took 2 wickets in his previous 8 games before this. And it's not that there aren't players down below that have all-round skills. Wokes, Bhuvi, Rashid, they all do. But none of them have the potential to transform your teams like the guys at the top do. These top 4 all-rounders are guys who can really bat, and the bottom half is some guys who can bat a bit. The only elite power play bowler either team has is Chris Wokes. He's been a gun over the last 5 years, and I don't understand why several people haven't converted to him as their religion. In the middle overs, both teams go deep with wrist spin. England using Adil Rashid in the middle overs to take wickets. It's been a very important part of their strategy. India have used Chahal and Kuldeep to do the same. The only real difference is India have found 2 wrist spinners, and England kind of invented a new position, the heavy ball cross seam back of a length Liam Plunkett to take some wickets for them as well. At the death, neither of these teams is exceptional in the last 10 overs. India are certainly decent, with England solidly middle of the road. And India's better record at the death is largely down to Jasprit Bumrah, who is down near 6 and over, which is incredible. He also averages just over 15. He's handy to have. I think where possible, all teams should try and have a Jasprit Bumrah. And here's the thing, You can have all these great strategies and these plans and everything, but you actually need the people to, do the jobs. Like at one stage, Sri Lanka had a Jasprit Bumrah. His name was Lasith Malinga. Now they don't, and they are the worst major nation at the death. And they were also the innovators in attacking the power play. And now they're just a fairly ordinary ODI side with no players that really stand out that much. This is teams placed by their average differential with bat and ball, and also their run rate differential in the same. You can see England and India all the way up here, and Sri Lanka all the way down here. There is no tactic that would change this, no new coach or method or anything like that. Over time, Sri Lanka can find some more talent, but then it's up to them to match it with something that brings out their best consistently. And this is the really important thing. England and India are currently blessed with this talent. But the fact that they've also found styles that match it is even better. Neither of them are perfect, and you don't have to hang around cricket Twitter too long to hear someone moan about England going too hard too often, or India being, very slow. But both teams win a lot. And I've checked with Kane Williamson. That's all that matters.